Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trawled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
This has been a surprisingly busy week.
Has it?
Lots of things have happened.
Okay, what has happened?
I replaced the fan on my GPU, which was a whole rigmarole when it turned out that the replacement fan had entirely the wrong plug in every sense of the word.
Oh no, what did you do?
Well, I told you about it, and then you soldered the old plug onto the new fan, and that worked.
Oh, lucky I was there then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Phew, thank me.
Yes, thank you.
Good. What else have you been up to?
Which I think is now the time that I have thanked you for that.
Oh, I've been waiting patiently, avoiding giving prompts or anything of that sort or nature. But it is working.
Yes, it is functioning. It is not making the noises that the old fan did.
No. It can now do other upsetting things.
Yes. Now, we've gone from loud and intermittent whirring to soft electric buzz.
Oh.
Which I think might be normal.
Yeah. Well, anything that's got more than one moving part in it, you do have to forgive for making noise.
Yes.
But it is certainly not waking up the household.
Well, it wasn't doing that anyway, but...
Oh, I don't know.
Once you get round the corner or through the DVDs, it's...
Yeah. Okay, so that's fixed.
That is solved.
Good. What else have you been up to?
I wasn't going to, but I joined up with a bunch of internet friends and we participated in the MIT Mystery Hunt over the weekend.
Oh, okay.
And that was fun. We escaped the underworld.
Right, which is more than Percy can say he did.
So far, yes. Which I think represented the end of the first set of content for the Mystery Hunt, and then there was a bunch more after that in the overworld, most of which we did not do because the difficulty ramps somewhat as the hunt goes on.
Oh, okay.
A team did find the coin,
right,
and are now responsible for next year's mystery hunt.
So this mystery hunt is entirely virtual?
It is. Most of it can be done virtually.
Right, except for the finding of said coin.
There are parts of it that do require people to be on the MIT campus, and we did have some people on the MIT campus collecting physical things.
Right.
But in the end, we escaped the underworld, which means that each of us gets a sticker.
Good for you.
Which one of the people who was actually at MIT will send at some point.
So these people at MIT who were working for you, they were more than just gophers.
Oh
they
yeah,
were also
they were also participating in the hunt, solving puzzles. The goal of a mystery punt.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Got to be in it to win it.
The goal of a mystery hunt is to solve a bunch of puzzles, which will make it possible to solve even more puzzles, and eventually you have solved enough puzzles that you get to do what is called the runaround, in which you run around MIT to various locations and eventually end up finding the coin, which is usually a coin, a custom coin produced for the hunt. But sometimes it's a manhole cover or a cube.
Good. All right.
And all the puzzles have like a text solution.
So how many contestants were in this year? Do you have? I'm assuming you have some idea as to participation levels.
There are thousands.
Okay.
Thousands of people involved.
Okay.
With some of the teams are upwards of 100 people.
Okay.
We had maybe a little over a dozen.
Okay.
We were never going to win, and it's a good thing that we were never going to win, because if we had won, we would be responsible for next year's mystery hunt, and that would not have gone well.
Okay. You could try and sneak wrangle it into the University of Tasmania campus. Except where is that right now? Who can say?
Well, I can tell you that it's not in Boston.
No.
Which is where they generally expect you to hold the mystery hunt.
Mystery technology.
That wasn't all that happened. The doubloon.
Did the doubloon finally come?
Yes, it arrived.
Yay!
It arrived. My doubloon for volunteering for the video strike team of Desert Bus for Hope did arrive, and it looks very similar to last year's.
But strikingly different in the year section,
yes,
presumably.
And some of the stars have moved around.
Wow.
I think there are more stars this year than there were last year.
So that means, is that absolutely everything that you've been waiting for in the mail?
That is everything that I know is out in the open.
Oh dear.
Because the sticker and a pin that I had someone there buy for me will be coming at some point when I have exchanged address details and fund. This year I worked out... This year meaning last year, when Desert Bus was happening, I worked out that I maybe want to do something else for the video strike team, and hopefully that'll work out, but it might not.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say?
You want to be the strike team mascot and wear the costume. That's what it is. That's what it really is, isn't it? You want to just chuff up to Canada and...
My goal is to improve the consistency of our titling of videos, which has in past years been...
somewhat ad hoc.
Hit or miss.
Right.
Ideally, I won't have to chase anyone up about tags, because we're moving away from Google Sheets to another thing that is like a spreadsheet but slightly different and bespoke. Because Google Sheets wasn't quite fulfilling the brief.
Okay.
And so when something doesn't fulfill the brief, someone codes something else.
So I'm assuming that was originally the go-to because more than one person could be on it at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's free.
Yes.
Yes. Free and lots of users at once.
Free-ish.
Yeah, okay.
Fairly recently, docs and sheets and slides produced in Google's ecosystem didn't count towards your storage limit.
Oh, okay, storage limits. Right.
And recently they have made it count.
Right, okay. So, yes, there is some cost involved if you are using huge amounts of data there, which you wouldn't be, would you?
All we put in a Google Sheet is text.
That's right.
Text doesn't take up
tiny
that much
little
space.
files.
If by chance you produce, 1,500 rows of spreadsheet every day for 7 days,
that would start doing things.
That would add up.
I interject here just to apologise to our dear listener for any weird gurgling sounds that sound like plumbing gone wrong. Oh, there's one. That was on cue. I have a gurgly tummy at the moment.
Yeah, you do.
And there's nothing I can do about it. If the microphone picks it up, it picks it up.
Yeah.
But, this is how we roll in the Deranged Cat studio.
And you get to edit your gurgling noises.
That's right. Maybe I'll replace all the gurgles with... or something.
went for a walk up Howrah Beach and then slightly beyond Howrah Beach because I walked too fast for my own good.
Good? No, you didn't. No, you need to walk more.
Right. I need
More
to
for your own
I
good.
need to walk more, but I walk too fast for my own good.
Right.
Those are two separate and not conflicting statements. But apparently I didn't walk as far as some.
No.
So,
No, but you're battling with every device has a slightly different sensor in it and step counts and things like that. It's a weird nebulous thing. Unless you are completely...
no, I mean like physically.
Oh, distance-wise.
Like distance-wise.
Yes. Yes, no, people did walk further than you.
I
was not one of them.
I cannot believe that anyone got to Belrive Beach.
Oh, well. Anything else?
And then I walked back. And that was fun. I submitted a question to council, and that question was answered.
Good. Good. That was a question that I prompted.
Yes.
And then promptly forgot what that prompting was. I still remembered that you had submitted a question to council, but I couldn't remember what it was. Good.
Yeah.
And it's been answered to your satisfaction.
It has been answered at length and to my satisfaction.
Yeah.
But not to council's, I think.
No, it is a bit of a disappointment.
And that is all that I have written down here.
Oh, you made notes. I did not.
I very quickly made notes
I did
while
not,
we were setting
but
up.
I have indicators as to what I have done in the past week. Namely, bright red spots on my legs where I allowed too much sun to expose. Yes, I am burnt.
Or allowed Flora to...
Or allowed, yes, allowed a mountain to bite me.
You shouldn't have done that.
Yes, so one of our dear listeners also happens to be my sister. We went on a trip into the wilds of South West National Park in Tasmania to a large lake that wasn't quite so large until they stuck a big dam on it and made it large and turned a mountain into an island. And then we paddled out to the island in a kayak, or two kayaks, and then attempted to climb up said mountain/island, and I am not very fit at the moment, so did not get terribly far. But it was still exhilarating. The views were amazing, quite vertigious, vertigo-ish. It caused vertigo.
Right.
Yes, it was very, very steep. It was goat country, except there were no goats. But there were signs, very compelling evidence that wombats live on the island. And for those of you who cannot understand why, I know for a certainty that there probably are wombats on the island. You should Google wombat poo.
Ah, yes.
And then you will know instantly how the evidence was there. Very distinct poo. Yes, and how they do it is a mystery. An amazing mystery. Wombat poo, the amazing mystery. Yes, so that was great. So it was my first trip into a national park for this year. It was my first kayak for this year. My first sunburn for this year. My first attempt at any type of mountainous expedition. And to top it all off, it was an absolutely gorgeous day. And I was quite warm and sunburnt by the end of it, so I went for a swim. So it was my first swim for the year, and what was amazing about that was that 99.9% of my swims are in salt water, and gee, it's nice to have a swim in fresh water and dry off and not have salt all over you. Very invigorating. So that is basically my highlight for the week. Done a bit of fixing of stuff. Things are all around us are falling apart and breaking down, and I changed Joy-Con joysticks in a Joy-Con and things like that.
The power of magnets.
The power of magnets, yes. good old Hall effect sensors. Why they didn't put those in the things to begin with?
Because they're more expensive.
Oh, yeah, but when you're mass producing them, good grief. Anyway, I really don't.
I will blame the use of Hall effect sensors for Sega's decline as a console manufacturer.
Okay. Is that where they went broke?
Yes.
They put Hall effect sensors in their controllers, which is a smart move on paper, but that is completely what caused the demise of Sega as a console manufacturer.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So we're talking Dreamcast here.
I think so.
I think
one
that
of
was
their consoles.
last. Sure, the Dreamcast was their last big hurrah.
Sega. Hall effect.
Sega.
Yes, the Dreamcast had Hall effect sensors in their joysticks.
In both the joysticks themselves and the triggers?
Yes.
Good on them.
Sorry.
Good upon them.
To detect the position of the shoulder triggers and 3D nipple.
Ooh, the 3D nipple. Oh, great. Now we've got a PG rating on this episode. What a way to... yes, anyway. There's probably a whole heap of other things that I'm completely forgetting, but it is hot, and I'm still feeling a little bit of heat stroke, I think, and weary, so we should probably get into watching a film. Now, you picked this week's movie.
I did.
And I cannot for the life of me remember from last week what you picked.
Yeah.
So let's have the hinterometer and see whether this rings my bell.
So last week, obviously, we watched Blood-Sucking Amazon Women from Mars 3.
Yeah.
Which was certainly a choice that you made.
Well, look, I think what let it down, just recalling from last week's episode and reiterating, is the fact that it has been on the shelf for so long that the scratch and sniff cards have lost their smell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and that really is 90% of the impact of that film is having the numbers come up on the screen and scratching the box and having smell-o-vision dip you even deeper into the enthrallment that is Blood-Sucking Amazon Women from Mars #3. But, yes, I picked that.
Yeah. And so I decided to go for something completely different to that.
Good. So no scratch and sniff cards?
No scratch and sniff cards.
Oh, right.
Recently...
I'm just trying to remember what it was. No, you're going to have to draw my memory.
Recently, a fairly local distribution company called Umbrella Entertainment.
Oh.
Are
we going to be watching something with ads?
We might be, yes.
Whoa. That's brave. Now this is ringing bells from last week's conversation. I think I said that last week.
Came out with a new streaming service, a free streaming service with a bunch of films that I assume they distribute regularly on it. Yep. And one of those films is from 1993.
Yes. No.
One of those films is from 1993 and it stars Bob Hoskins.
Right. Okay.
And it has some relation to a rather more recent film that has come out.
Right.
And it's a video game movie.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now I'm remembering. Okay.
This,
which is somewhat ironic, seeing as we've just had a conversation about Sega.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. I'm remembering now. I am remembering correctly.
I assume you are.
It's me, Sonic the Hedgehog.
This is. At last, the long-awaited 1993 Super Mario Bros. Episode of Cellulose Free.
Look, see, I'm so old that we still called it Super Mario Brothers. You know, it's hearing the conversations in this house where everything is bros and I'm going to verse you.
Okay, well,
These young whippersnappers.
I agree with you entirely on verse.
But
What is going on there?
well, it is fully entrenched in the English language now.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
But bros or bros, it was Super Mario Brothers all the time. You'd have people coming up to the counter and saying, "Can I have the latest Super Mario Brothers?" They wouldn't say, "I want the latest Super Mario Bros." Or bros. Good grief. Get a life, people. Anyway, right, so we're watching the 93.
Yep.
Bob Hoskins' Super Mario Bros. Would you, for our dear listener, read again the plot synopsis so that I can cackle about it like I did last week?
Buckle up and hang on tight. The discovery of a parallel universe launches you into the adventure of a lifetime. Mario and Luigi, two wacky plumbers, undertake a daring quest to save a princess in Dino Hatton, a hidden world where the inhabitants evolved from dinosaurs.
I'm remembering making parallels to that and blood-sucking Amazon women from Mars. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Mario and Luigi face deadly challenges from a diabolical lizard king and must battle giant reptilian Goombas, outwit misfit thugs, and undermine a sinister scheme to take over the world. Blast over for non-stop excitement with the first ever live-action adaptation of a popular video game.
A popular video game. Right, good.
Starring Bob Hoskins and Dennis Hopper.
That's what we are about to stream on the Chromecast because
It's not yet made its way
onto the fetch top box or anywhere really.
or either of the Xboxes.
No, so we're going to have to hold a couple of wires to beam the signals into the house. But that's what we're about to watch. We're going to watch it now, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
Mongrel. Oh, sorry. It's me, a mongrel.
Oh, you're the mongrel? Great. That's me in the clear then.
Roll the tape. So what did you think?
It's not a very good film, is it?
Oh, dear.
just structurally bad. There's some things that could have been good throughout.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those aren't related to each other.
No. I think I lulled myself into a false sense of security, expecting the absolute worst, like complete and utter dross.
Mm-hmm.
And as the movie progressed, I'm thinking, actually, there's actually some production values here. There are certain camera angles that are particularly well set up, and it's looking crisp, and then they get into the underground.
Yeah.
And all bets are off.
So,
oh dear.
So first problem. We have decided that everyone in Dino Hatton is descended from dinosaurs. And so, a lot of the iconic imagery of Koopas and Goombas and Toads, we have to throw all of that out.
Yeah.
Everyone is a humanoid descended from dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So they are either a human who looks a little interesting, or a dinosaur, which they did not pull off.
Oh, dear.
Technically, very good.
Look,
but it doesn't come together.
Yoshi, I absolutely adored. That was really cutting edge stuff for the time, and that worked. And I think they poured a whole heap of energy and money into that. and,
And it is very good, but it's not Yoshi.
No, it's not. But hang on. I was going to keep this realization that I had on the toilet during the break. The sudden realization of absolutely how vitally important that post-credit scene is. And this is why. The games are based on the film characters rather than the film being based on the game characters. It's their deceit of explaining that entire thing, that entire movie, why nothing looks quite like in the movies or is completely different, in the game, is that final deceit right at the end with the Japanese game developers saying we want to base a game on characters in the thing that just happened. So that's why things are different in the game to the film, rather than it being based. These characters are not based on the game.
The similarities, the similarities between the characters that exist in the film, and the characters in the game. First of all, there's no similarity in the setting at all.
No.
There is none.
No.
The similarity is that there is a character called Mario and a character called Luigi, and they are both plumbers.
Yes.
There is a character called Daisy.
There is.
There is not a character called Bowser. That character is instead called Koopa.
For reasons.
Yes.
I don't know.
There is a character called Toad who is not a toad in the film. Goombas are bottom heavy instead of top heavy.
So I confess it has been absolute years since I've really focused on any character in any Mario World type situation. So in game terms, what are the Goombas?
They are the weakest enemies. They just walk towards the left of the screen. And if they hit you, then you take damage.
What do they look like?
They sort of look like a mushroom, to be honest.
Right, okay.
Like a stout mushroom.
What I was saying about Yoshi, what do you say? Yoshi. And how wonderful and animatronic that character was, even though in my head canon I've reconciled with that last end credit. So that's how I'm explaining it. None of the kids would have seen that. They would have all walked out before seeing it. So they certainly would have run out saying it wasn't anything like the game. And fair enough. But as far as the Goombas are concerned, some of the expressions they were getting out of those dinosaur heads were absolutely wonderful too.
Oh yes.
And and what they were in was absolutely ludicrous, but I got used to that too. But it was just ludicrousness upon ludicrousness upon ludicrousness that it did really wear a little thin. It was just manic and noisy, and
we need to cover over the bad job that we're doing with frenetic editing.
Did Tim Burton have anything to do with this?
Not as far as I know.
Because it really felt like a mashup of all the irritating bits about certain Tim Burton films. Batman, Beetlejuice, all have wonderful bits in them, but it seemed to draw on the crazier elements of the likes of Tim Burton's films there. Men in Black, it felt like as well. Even smatterings of Total Recall and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was like all of those had been stuck in a blender, and once it had been whizzed through a couple of times, you sieve out any semblance of reality.
The directors are a husband-wife team, and they do say that, quote, they come from the Tim Burton school of filmmaking. So while Burton wasn't involved...
Yeah. But that going through that list still didn't quite put the finger on what it most reminded me of. And during the rest break, it dawned on me. But retrospectively, this film, Super Mario Brothers, is the parent of Speed Racer. And you probably, I do not remember Speed Racer other than the fact that it was crazy, manic, colourful, and loud. And the way that I felt watching this movie today reminds me of how I recall feeling trying to wrap my head around Speed Racer.
Okay, yeah.
It's just completely in-your-face loud, not just audio loud, but visually loud and flashing loud and yeah. It's cacophonous. There we go. It's a cacophonous film, Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all quick cuts, and suddenly we are doing this now.
Yeah. The other thing that I did find very, very disturbing was Cooper reminded me so much of Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many mannerisms and so... Yeah, it just threw me completely that all I could see whenever his character came on would be Donald Trump.
In the credits, in the special thanks,
Yes.
they thank Reebok, who put their logo on the feet of a bomb, which is a wild choice.
Yep.
But also, there was a Motorola logo in the police car, and that isn't mentioned in the special thanks.
Maybe they'd filmed it, but then withdrew. We don't necessarily want to have our name on the credits. But if that's the case, I do feel sorry for the absolute who's who of musicians of the time. The soundtrack, as far as songs were concerned, that are in the soundtrack, is an absolute who's who of artists of the era. So I don't know how it all happened. There's some very big names acting-wise in this as well. And maybe Dennis Hopper and Bob Hoskins, maybe they told them it was going to be complete pantomime and, okay, we like pantomime, we'll get into this. So I don't know.
Nobody who acted on this speaks kindly of it.
It is really, really bad. All that being said, it's nowhere near the worst film that we have watched for this podcast.
It's also not the worst film we've watched that we finished for this podcast.
Indeed.
The soundtrack is an absolute jukebox mishmash, and the only reference that I could pick up to, actual music from the games is at the start over the opening logos.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
No. Well, see, I mean, they got a very popular soundtrack writer of the era as well. I think it was Alan Silvestri. Very much of the time as well. That very familiar sound to it.
There are
big
some
names everywhere.
There are some Alan Silvestri soundtracks that I absolutely love.
Yeah. It was, again, a case of the only way that I can explain it is that the games came after the film. So that's why we don't have any of the music through it.
So, from a filmmaking perspective, not good.
No.
From a podcasting perspective, we managed to get some good mileage out of it.
We did.
So.
We did. Oh, there was one last note that which was actually probably the first note. The opening, the computer animated, very very much of the 8-bit game era that then dissolved into real scenery. I thought was done very well. So yeah, that was the very first thing that set me off on, maybe this will be better than I was expecting.
Yeah, no, that intro is the best part of the film.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, yes. So for all you lovers of this film, good for you. Yeah. I am still glad that I have finally seen it.
Mm-hmm.
After all these many, many, many years, I can now justify my deep-seated concern for how good this film was, rather than is going to be. Do you have anything else you wish to say?
No.
Okay, we'll move on then.
The following segment has no title. Thank you.
And it's a shame, isn't it? Because, it's like, I feel like for the past year we haven't gotten very much interaction out of our viewers at all, really. Like, there's been some comments here or there, but...
Yeah, they've abandoned us, I think.
Yeah.
So we don't have any listener comments, and we also don't have anybody who guessed the 6-letter acronym for the file that I entered onto our recording device for last week's episode.
Blood-sucking Amazon women from Mars Free, of course.
Which was BLDSK3.
Yeah, as you'd expect, obviously.
Yeah, so, oh well.
Yeah.
There were some good points there, and there was an obvious one. Oh well.
Sort of feels like we've fallen into an alternate dimension where these episodes haven't been going out.
Like a blip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we shall move on then to the final segment.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
It's your turn.
It is my turn. And I am going to bring up a plot synopsis for next week's episode, because I actually, rather than shaking the phone, I've been slowly gathering a list of films that are available on streaming services that I'd like to view, and I'm going to pick one from that. So, are you ready for a...
I don't know, are you?
No, I'm not.
Well, let's call the whole thing off then.
Let's call the whole thing off.
I don't know, I come all the way out here and then you're not even ready with the thing.
Okay. Yeah. Furball. All right. So, I'm going to do a Thomas here.
Uh-huh.
Say, this movie came out in 2007.
Okay.
And I suspect, I could be entirely wrong, but it is a film that you possibly are completely unfamiliar with.
Right.
Because I was only, and this is an unfair comparison, but I was unfamiliar with it until very, very recently. But something popped up and piqued my interest.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to start reading this description. You buzz in if you suddenly do actually know what it is. An impromptu goodbye party for Professor John Oldman becomes a mysterious interrogation after the retiring scholar reveals to his colleagues he has a longer and stranger past than they can imagine.
Got nothing for you.
No. Next week we are going to be watching The Man from Earth.
Right.
Yes. It is listed in IMDb as a drama, fantasy, mystery, sci-fi movie.
Great.
Yes.
Those tend to be things that I like.
Yes. Okay. And for you Star Trek fans out there, it stars John Billingsley, who, of course, you would recognise from Star Trek Enterprise.
The deep cuts.
What? What are you saying?
Nothing.
What are you saying, son?
I'd never say anything. It doesn't sound like me.
Did. All right. So, we are now both none the wiser as to what we're watching next week, but we hope that you also are none the wiser. We hope that if you have an opportunity to watch that, those of you who are in Australia can stream it on Prime. So, Prime Video, it is streaming on It is also on Tubi with ads and Plex. So there you go. Anyway,
There you go indeed.
so that's what we're watching next week. We hope that you can join us. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
That's what I say, right?
Well, I was looking at you in the hope that I said what I say.
I'm pretty sure you said what you said.
I was questioning it all the way through it. But, yes, that blip really did my head in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to be back.
Isn't it great to be back? Except that I now have to edit the rotten thing.
Oh dear. There's the rub.
What do? You should Google. You should Google wombat poo.